Welcome to the Online Success Journey podcast, your opportunity to discover and learn from entrepreneurs like yourself. This is not your typical podcast, but a place where you can get the real story and find out how real people encounter speed bumps and detours, but journey through to find success. Now here's your host for the Online Success Journey podcast, Patience.
Hello everyone and welcome to Online Success Journey. This is episode 141. Are you ready to join the clan? Today we have Jonny Cooper, a British entrepreneur, a piano player, international racing driver and a business coach. John is the founder of the SuccessParty.com, helping transformation professionals find more of their ideal clients easily. Hello Jonny.
Hey Patience, how are you? It's a real pleasure to be here. I love your podcast and your unbridled enthusiasm. It bubbles out across the airwaves, doesn't it? So well done for that. It's brilliant.
Thank you for coming. I know the clan here is anxious to hear your story. So let's get started with the basics. Can you tell my clan a little bit about your background, about what you did before you started your own online business?
Sure. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I've never had a job. I'm probably unemployable, I would say. Nobody would give me a job. Nobody ever has. So yes, I've been rowing my own boat. My big business. I founded just at the end of the last century in 96, 97, and that was in financial services. So we were advising people on pensions and investments and that kind of thing. And I built that up to around about 2003 when I sold the business. But I mean, at that point we had 200 staff. We had 8 offices around the country, and we were doing just on 10 million turnover. So, you know, the genuine 8-figure business that everybody talks about. And it was a great experience, and one which then sort of set me up as an accidental coach, if you like, because after I sold the business, quite a few of the clients that we had in that business were asking me to advise them to help their businesses grow, you know. So I got drawn into marketing strategies, growth strategies, helping them with HR and recruitment, and of course exit strategies, because we'd clearly exited our business and people wanted to know how to sell their own business, you know. So I guess for about 10 years or so I was a kind of jack of all trades business consultant, you know, doing bits of this, bits of that, anything my clients asked me, really. And it's only in the last 3 or 4 years that I've started to pull that together into an online business, something more coherent and more focused on a particular niche, a particular group of people who I now regard as my tribe, you know, as my ideal clients. And those people are coaches, trainers, therapists and consultants, broadly, as you said, you know, transformation professionals, people who set out to change the lives of others. And I help them to build their business, build their thriving practice, as we say.
What a journey, Jonny. Okay. What is the most dangerous belief an online entrepreneur can have?
I think a dangerous belief is that everything's going to be okay. It will all happen when it's meant to happen, and the law of attraction and all that kind of stuff. That works a bit, but it's about 20% of the story. The other 80% is actually getting off your bum and taking decisive action today. So taking steps every single day to move you towards your goal. And many of the transformation professionals that I work with have not yet achieved success because, you know, they're pretty good coaches usually, or good therapists and trainers. They know their stuff, if you like, but they don't actually understand what the next decisive action is they need to take. So they're kind of wandering aimlessly, just waiting for stuff to happen, which, as you probably know, Patience, never does if you don't make it happen yourself. So there you go. There's a dangerous belief that things will happen by themselves.
Wow, okay. Jonny, why do you do what you do?
I can't not do it, really. I see coaches and trainers and therapists out there, and I want to help them. I've achieved a level of success in my practice, and it's going to be growing exponentially over the next couple of years. And I just really want to help other people to do the same, you know, to teach them what I've learned and help them to get to the life of abundance and success that they deserve.
Okay. All right. So you are successful. You managed to build your business to 8-figure and sold it off and then started now a new business. So let's put man aside. How did you
Hmm.
know you are really successful?
I don't think I've ever accepted that. I've never called myself successful. I think once you start doing that, you're on a slippery slope, aren't you? It's for others to judge my level of achievement compared with something else. And, success is not an absolute term, is it? It means different things to different people. So, I would look at someone like Richard Branson, as everybody does around the world, and say, he's successful. Sure he is, but I wonder how he feels himself. Maybe he feels he's got quite a lot more to do before he could call himself successful. So I don't paint myself with that term. I think it's important though to give yourself a pat on the back now and again and reward what you might call milestones. Levels of achievement and that. So I can remember certain occasions when I achieved something. I achieved a particular goal. I hit my target for a week or a month or even a day, and that makes you feel good, doesn't it? It makes you feel successful inside. But I don't know whether I'll ever say that I'm successful. I don't really know what that means.
So what is success to you?
Yeah, so you're just making me think, aren't you? So success to me, it's fairly sort of general things, really. Just getting up in the morning feeling fulfilled, feeling excited, energized about the day ahead. Getting to the end of the day feeling rewarded, and content that you've done as much as you could in a particular day. So if you're pushing me for a definition of success, for me, it's those kind of micro measurements of stuff that you were going to do that you've managed to do, and just being happy. I mean, I'm successful, I guess, by most measures in my family life. I have a wonderful wife and a fabulous little boy who's just 2.5 years old, little Oscar. So I feel successful there. Outside of that, as I said to you earlier, Patience, I wouldn't really describe myself as successful at any particular point. It's all a journey, isn't it, where you're trying to improve every single day, aren't you, really?
Wow. Okay. Can anyone be an entrepreneur, or are some people more cut out for it than others?
I haven't met people who are fundamentally incapable of becoming an entrepreneur. I think they may decide not to. And what I mean by that is people on the outside may declare they want to be an entrepreneur, but they haven't actually made the internal decisions necessary to become an entrepreneur and to earn a living from it. I mean, there's two parts to any goal, isn't there? There's setting the goal, and saying that you want to do X, you want to achieve this and that. But then the other part of it is actually being prepared to give what's necessary to meet those goals. And clearly there are many more people who dream about success and achieving stuff than actually do it. I think the reason for that, the gap between people wanting to do something and actually doing it, is just that deep down inside they're not prepared to give what it takes. They're not prepared to show up every day and take determined action every day towards their goals. And if you don't do that, your dreams are going to be just that, aren't they? They're going to be just dreams. I guess the answer to your question, I think everyone's capable of being an entrepreneur, but some people just don't want it enough. Does that make sense? Does that help? Is that a good answer?
We will take that. We will make sure we turn up every day to make sure we get success.
Exactly. I mean, as the man said, I think it was the film actor Woody Allen who said 90%. I'm not sure whether he said 80 or 90, but 90% of success is just showing up. Showing up means just getting in there and rolling your sleeves up and doing what's necessary to get there. It doesn't happen by accident, does it?
No. So we will take your advice. We will start from there. Okay. What are the 3 pillars of effortless marketing?
Well, that's a great question. This is bringing it right back home, isn't it, to my area of expertise, as you might say. Yeah, I mean, I've defined these 3 pillars, and just before I tell you what they are, I'll tell you why they're necessary, because it's very, very tempting in the transformation business to show up to the world as a coach, or a business coach or something like that. And just a little story around that. I was at a networking meeting some years ago now, probably 7 or 8 years ago, and this guy came over to me, and we're both holding coffees, and he said to me, "What do you do, Johnny?" And I said, "I'm a business coach." And he leaned towards me and said, "Oh, that's boring, isn't it?" And I went, "Wow, okay." And then he walked off. I thought, how rude. But as I reflected on that experience, I realized that just saying to the world and saying to people that you're a business coach isn't interesting. It's not compelling. It doesn't actually define the benefits that you give to people. So, moving away from that, I came up with this idea of clearly defining 3 really important things that you do before you start marketing, before you start going out to the world and talking to people and trying to get them to become clients. So here are the 3 pillars. Number 1, what you do. So the answer to that question, that guy asked me, what do you do? If you ask me that today, I will say to you, yeah, I help transformation professionals who are serious about finding more of their ideal clients more easily without paid advertising. So there's a really clear what, So it's another way to describe it is, what's your superpower? What do you bring to the world that the world can't live without? Yeah, that's the first pillar, the what. Are you in tune with that, Patience? Does that mean?
Okay,
How does that sound?
We are following. Yes, explaining
Fantastic.
what you do.
Yeah, explain what you do in a very clear way, your superpower. The second superpower is who it's for. So if you remember, the second part of my little description then was I help transformation professionals. So that's coaches, trainers, therapists, and consultants. And it's really, really important to identify your client avatar, because if you try to sell your services to the whole world, then you're not going to sell to anybody, are you? No, nobody's listening. So identifying who it's for and who you can help is massively important, and it's the second of the 3 pillars of effortless marketing. The third pillar is how you deliver it. So in other words, somebody used this phrase yesterday, which I like, productizing your services. So create a product around your services. And again, many of the coaches who I start work with simply sell sessions. They kind of sell their time by the hour, if you like, which is a really tough thing to do. It's really tough to get anybody engaged with that. So I show all my clients how to create what I call a signature program, which is a product, really. It's what they do. It's how they deliver it, basically. So an example is my signature program, which is called the Client Attraction Blueprint, and it's a 12-week guided coaching program. So we have 12 one-hour sessions on Zoom once every week for 12 weeks. And I take my clients on a journey. So we learn all the stuff about the 3 pillars, and we learn, specific things about how to use LinkedIn, for instance, how to use a Facebook group, how to use email to market, how to optimize your website, all that kind of stuff. So it's a journey, basically. It's a structured journey. It's a process, and it's a program. It's called the Client Attraction Blueprint. And that's the third pillar of effortless marketing. Have a delivery system, have a how you actually help people. And once you've got the what you do, how, who you do it for, and how you deliver it, you can then start marketing. You've then got something to market, and it makes marketing a whole lot easier, and in some cases effortless, as I describe it. Yeah, so that's the 3 pillars. I hope that's useful.
But are you sure it is effortless for beginners? Exactly. How do we get into this one? Is this for a beginner? Is it for somebody who's already established? Because when you use the word effortlessly, we are like, oh, hallelujah. I can just get that done. Yeah, I can get that done. It says
Praise the
effortlessly.
Lord.
Yeah, it says effortlessly, so it's easy. Anyone can do it. So how exactly effortless is this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, nothing is effortless, is it? But some things take less effort than others. As my dad always used to say, there's an easy way and a hard way to do everything. And, without a doubt, the hard way to build a coaching practice is to not have clarity on those 3 pillars. If you don't understand what it is you do and can describe it accurately in one sentence, if you don't understand who you do it for, you haven't defined that, and if you haven't built a signature program that you can market to people, then everything's going to take a whole lot more effort and is going to be actually next to impossible. It's almost a recipe for failure if you haven't done those three things. So, effortless is always, open to interpretation, but I can guarantee you this, that marketing will be more effortless. It will take less effort. There will be less heartache. It will take less time, less money, less investment of everything that you are, if you've got those three things in place first. And they are so critical, so foundational that I teach them as the first part of all my program, basically. So without that in place, it's more difficult. With those three things in place, it takes less effort. So effortless, if you want to call it that.
Okay. You said in the beginning you used to call yourself a coach. So what is the reason the average coaching income is so low across the globe? I thought coaches, they were earning a lot of money.
Yeah, some coaches do, and of course the high-profile coaches, the coaches that you see, the coaches that are visible, by definition are probably successful because they're good at putting themselves out there. And, some of the coaches I follow have easily seven-figure practices, earning more than £1 million or dollars a year. I follow some coaches in the States who are earning considerably more than that, into 8 figures from coaching. So it's eminently possible, but the average coaching income around the world is around about 20 to 25k, whether that's dollars in the States or pounds in the UK. And that doesn't account for a whole load of people who are actually earning nothing from coaching. So, people who are trying to start out but haven't got that first client experience, or kind of bumping on the bottom, just a client here and there, doing an hour's coaching here, an hour's coaching there, selling by the session. So those three things that I've described, are what's missing from coaching practices inevitably when they're not successful. And, whereas the three pillars aren't going to guarantee success, I haven't met a successful coach yet who hasn't understood those three things, hasn't developed a signature program, hasn't worked out who he's coaching for, and hasn't worked out what it is that he does, what great transformational benefit he or she brings. So I haven't met anybody successful who's not nailed that. So I think it's probably a common thread, to answer your question. Why are people not successful? It's because they're going out to the world without anything to sell. They're going just with a vague promise of some kind of result, without actually putting it into a system and a process that makes sense to the market.
Okay, what are the 3 key freedom every coach should be shooting for?
Yeah, these 3 key freedoms. I mean, look, they're really important, I think, to most people. It's a personal thing for me as well. You can call them freedoms. You can call it independence is another word. But the 3 are financial freedom, financial freedom or independence, and whatever that means to you as an individual. I think you'd kind of know when you got there. You'd feel financially free. Perhaps it means paying off your mortgage, owning a property that hasn't got a mortgage. Maybe it means being able to take all the holidays that you want, Maybe it means putting the kids into a private school or something. I don't know. It means different things to different people. But financial freedom is at our fingertips if we build a thriving practice. So that's number 1. The second of the 3 freedoms is location freedom, location independence. This is a big thing these days. You see all this stuff around, the sort of backpack entrepreneur and stuff like that, digital nomad is another thing that's common. And, doing what we do, if you set it up so that you structure your coaching via video, using Skype or even better, using Zoom on one of the new platforms, then you can truly do that from anywhere in the world. And in fact, I started 2018 in Tenerife. So the first 3 weeks of January, which were blooming awful weather in the UK, if you remember, I was in the sunshine. I was coaching from my balcony in my apartment overlooking the sunny Atlantic. It was wonderful. I spent a couple of weeks in Marbella just last month as well. So, location freedom is important to me, and I would suggest that being able to run your business from anywhere in the world is a really powerful benefit, the consequence of a successful practice. And the third one, and this is something really to think about, is time freedom. So, moving away from getting paid by the hour, having to show up to work from 9 till 5. A successful coaching practice means that you can just work as little or as much as you want. And, one of my mentors in Canada, for instance, a guy called Stu McLaren, he does most of his work in January. So he puts together his coaching programs, sets up all his automated email sequences and his video programs. And then I'm not saying he doesn't do any work for the rest of the year, but the rest of the year he does what he wants. You know, he spends some time in Kenya. I know he builds schools for children in Kenya, spends some time out there. So, you know, those three freedoms, financial, location freedom and time freedom, are all at our fingertips if we build a thriving 21st century coaching practice. We can do all that stuff on our terms, and we can work as much or as little as we want. We can work wherever we want, and we can travel whenever we want if we have the financial freedom to do it. So, you know, that's what drives me every day, you know, to get to the point where I feel free and independent in those three key areas, if that makes sense.
Okay, you mentioned that you have a mentor. So what is the most valuable thing your mentor has told you?
I don't think there's one thing. This is interesting, isn't it? Because many people ask this, and I ask this myself when I meet established experts in their own field. You know, what's the one thing you can give us? And I think the right answer to that is there's no one thing. There's no one thing. If it was that easy, we'd all be doing it, wouldn't we? I think, you know, the one thing that you can't be successful without is what I call the action mindset. You know, getting up each day and holding yourself to account for actually doing stuff, you know, doing useful stuff, and knowing the difference between stuff that's useful and useless, you know, stuff that's just wasting your time versus actually creating outcomes from your time, you know. So if you want to pin me down, hold a gun to my head and say, what's the one thing? You know, you've got to be prepared to take action every single day and take decisive, purposeful, useful action that's going to move you towards your goals. And if you do that each day, you think about it, just do one thing every day that moves you closer to your goal. You can't help but be successful. You know, you will automatically be successful if you do that. But if you just kind of wander through days with no structure, no process, no direction, just doing stuff that kind of appears in front of you, you know, God forbid, you know, social media, all that kind of thing. If you just get sucked into that all day and just waste your time, then you won't get anywhere. So, you know, there's your one thing. There's your magic bullet. If you want me to leave you with that, just show up and take action all day, every day towards your goals.
What is one thing no one knows about you, Johnny?
No one knows. Well, that's really an impossible question, isn't it? Because if I answered it, everybody would know then, wouldn't they?
Uh-huh. So what is the secret? Okay, let's let your wife know. Okay, let's know that you're going to say, but my wife knows this.
I'm just playing with you.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
fine.
teasing.
That's good. So the wife will just say like, okay, that's part of you. Remember, you are married, so that's part of it. She doesn't count. So what is one thing no one knows about you?
One thing I don't discuss very often. No one knows about me. Blimey. So, okay, I could tell you something fun, I suppose, that nobody knows about me, not many people. I have a pseudonym that I use when I'm motor racing, and my motor racing name is Skid Carrera. And I came up with that because it sounds like a fast name, and when you see it on the side of a car, it looks like you're fast. So when I put my helmet on, and my helmet says Skid Carrera on the side, it makes me fast. It makes me faster than I would be if I just called myself Johnny. So there you are. There's something nobody knows. Skid Carrera. You can call me Skid if you want.
Wow. Thanks, Skid.
There you are. Feels great, doesn't it? Oh, feels good.
Wow.
I feel fast already. I feel
Yes.
fast today now.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. Wow. Okay. What is one thing that has contributed to your success so far?
Yeah, and continues to, is the desire to always be learning, to never stop learning, to never accept that you know enough, and to always learn from people who are a few steps ahead of you. So, you know, I have a coach. I always will have a coach. I've got more than one if you count coaches and mentors in a looser sense. So I learn from people. I learn from reading. And in fact, there's a famous man in the States called Charles Jones. He was a very esteemed author. He died about 10 years ago, and his nickname was Charles Tremendous Jones, because when anybody asked him how he was, he would always say, I'm tremendous, everything's tremendous, you know. So one of the things he said in his books was the only difference between where you are today and where you will be in a year's time is the people you meet and the books you read. And this is all about learning, isn't it? It's all about learning. You learn from books, You learn from people. So, never stop learning. That's the big thing that I carry into my world every single day.
What have you learned from business as a whole?
That there's no automatic right to be successful, and that success comes from hard work and application and just showing up every day, taking action. As we said earlier, it's kind of the same question in a different way, isn't it? That's the big lesson. Just you have no right to be successful. Nobody has any right to anything, in actual fact. And you get what you fight for, you get what you make, you get what you create by taking action every single day.
Tell us shortly how to build an engagement on Facebook without paying advertisement.
We're getting into a strategy and a tactic here, aren't we? It's interesting, isn't it? A lot of our discussion today has been kind of around mindset and positioning and that foundational stuff. But what's important, as I've said earlier, through all that is actually taking action. And what you've just asked about a Facebook group, is one of the decisive action steps that a coach can take to build a thriving business. So, when you start rolling your sleeves up and actually getting on with it, getting your hands dirty, as it were, a Facebook group is a great place to be. And it's not the only place. There are other social media platforms out there, but I think mastering one social media platform it has to be a great goal for anyone starting out, anyone growing a business. So I don't get distracted with Twitter and Instagram and other stuff that I could be doing, because I know if I did, I'd be less effective. So that's the first thing, I think, is to choose a platform where your ideal clients seem to hang out, and then dive into it and master it. Dive into it and master it with absolute commitment. So the Facebook groups are what feels great for me. Many of my fellow coaches are on Facebook, and therapists and trainers. Many of them are easily identifiable. So they're in groups called coaching this, coaching that. So I can easily identify them and start conversations with them. So the key to getting success without paying advertising is engaging with people, starting conversations. So there's all the bit about building your own group and writing posts. But I think much more important than that is being seen as somebody who engages, who starts conversations, who adds value. And here's the news: you can actually do that in other people's groups. You don't even have to start your own group to start with if you don't want to. You can just join other groups where your ideal clients seem to be and just start conversations, And that's my mantra, from morning till night is, how many conversations have I started or joined in today? And that's a real measure of how, it's a great input, if you like. It's something that you can measure, I try and start a dozen conversations every day. I try and, start or join in a dozen conversations on Facebook, in groups, not just my group, but other people. So, either answering a question or offering a bit of advice and that kind of thing. And once you start to do that, the magic happens. People will start to accept you as an authority, as an expert in your field. People will start to ask, how do they get involved with you? How can they work with you? How can they find out more about what you do? So having conversations, Patience, is all it takes, really, to start a fire, if you like, to start a fire around your brand and to get people wanting to work with you. Just be prepared to go out there and dive in where it looks appropriate. And as I say, you can do that in other people's groups. You don't even have to start your own group. So that's good news, isn't it, really?
Yes, that removes a little pressure. Okay, tell us more about this client attraction blueprint.
Well, I'm glad you asked that, and thank you for giving me the platform to talk about that. So, yeah, that's my signature program. And if you remember backtracking, if people just skip to this point, it's built around the 3 pillars of effortless marketing, as I call it. The 3 pillars being what it is you do, who you do it for, and how you deliver it. And how I deliver my coaching is through the Client Attraction Blueprint, which is a 12-week guided coaching program. I get a small group together each month, as few as 4 and as many as 8 at the absolute maximum. It's averaging probably 6 at the moment. So 6 people each month join the Client Attraction Blueprint, and we take them through a 12-week journey of building a thriving practice, building a blueprint for your thriving coaching practice. So you will learn all the elements you need to learn in stages, from the 3 pillars through to the other stuff you've been asking me about today, things like your Facebook group, your LinkedIn profile, your email marketing campaign, your website, all that great stuff, live videos, all that fun stuff, building your own signature program, like I've done with the Client Attraction Blueprint. So you learn all that stuff that I've learned, and you'll learn how to deliver it to your ideal client so that your ideal client pops up and says, yes, I want to work with you. I want some of this stuff. I want you to coach me. I want you to work with me. So that's what you'll get from the Client Attraction Blueprint. If any of your listeners would like some more information on that, they can find that out by hitting me up at thesuccessparty.com. You'll see the Client Attraction Blueprint page on there. So thesuccessparty.com, or just join the Facebook group and say hi in there and we can talk about it. Facebook group is called Jonny Hates Marketing. Wow. I love that name. Every time I say it, I love it. I have to claim some credit for it, actually. I thought of it in the shower.
Okay.
Like all good ideas.
Is that where? Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that you get your ideas from the shower. That's good.
Yeah, definitely. You should. When you shower.
So when you are in the shower, no wonder we are now being billed too much because John is taking so long showers that we have to pour more water because he's busy generating all the ideas in the shower, and our bills are up. That's why.
I've got to tell you that the hot water runs out before I run out of ideas. It really does. I have to step out. But if you just close your eyes and take a deep breath while your conditioner's setting or whatever you want, just take a couple of minutes and just let the ideas come, and it's wonderful. Jonny Hates Marketing hit me in August, and I went, yes, that's it. So I rebranded my Facebook group, which was previously called the Success Party, to Jonny Hates Marketing. I'm shortly rebranding my website actually to jonnyhatesmarketing.com. But anybody who hits up the Success Party will still be able to find it. We've got all that techie stuff is organised. So yeah, just go to the successparty.com and click on Client Attraction Blueprint. You'll find all the details there. But you can also sign up on the site for my free daily emails, which are called Daily Brain Tattoos. And these are little squirts of marketing juice that land in the back of your inbox every morning at 10 o'clock. So, hopefully that's interesting. And that's all free as well. So if you sign up at thesuccessparty.com, you can get that. And it's all good stuff. And I look forward to welcoming all your lovely listeners into my world and me into theirs,
Wow. So, Clan, there will be more from Jonny the Skit in a moment. If you are listening on one of the many podcast platforms rather than my website and you are encouraged by Jonny's journey, go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for a bonus portion of this interview. The Online Success Journey is a wonderful membership community built for people searching for the path to success. We are one big clan and you can be part of this community for free. Once you have joined the clan, click on part 2 of Jonny's journey or over 100 other journeys that are available and learn how you can find the right path for your own online success journey. That's a wrap, clan. Remember, success is a journey, patience and journey.
This is not the end of the journey. We hope you've enjoyed listening to part 1 and want to be sure you know there is a second part to this and every journey podcast at onlinesuccessjourney.com, filled with even more success tips, uplifting stories, and even a bit of fun. There are dozens of episodes only available to the members of the Online Success Journey clan. Check out the website and click on Join the Clan for more information. Patience would like to thank you for listening to this podcast, and she has a free audio gift for you at her website. Go to onlinesuccessjourney.com for instant access to this gift. Of course, you know that listening to the journeys of others helps each of us chart our own path. So make sure you're subscribed to be notified as each new interview is posted. There are so many ways to stay connected to the Online Success Journey and to listen in. And if you're enjoying the podcast, we appreciate your help in telling others. One of the best ways to share the benefit you get is to rate and review it at Stitcher and other sites by clicking the stars or completing the ratings form. by clicking thumbs up and leaving a comment on YouTube, or liking and sharing the podcast on social media. To review the podcast within iTunes, simply open iTunes to the podcast, click on Ratings and Reviews, then write a review. On behalf of Patience, and until next time, thanks once more for listening. It is our hope that this podcast will guide you on your own online success journey.